We begin in Greece, where hundreds of firefighters are battling a huge wildfire ravaging the edges of Athens. Officials describe the situation as exceptionally dangerous. Crews are using helicopters and water bombers to tackle the flames, which are being fueled by those strong winds. This is one of the hottest, driest summers on record in southern Europe, with drought conditions across the region. At least one person in Greece has died. The evacuation orders are in effect in at least a dozen areas. I want to bring in Daphne Tolis. She is a documentary filmmaker and a journalist, and she is joining us from Athens. Daphne, thank you for making time for us.
Thank you for having me. Hello from Athens.
Well, hello, and we're very worried about all of you over in Athens. Now, I'm looking at my producer's notes, and he said the fire on Sunday on the outskirts of Athens really got things started. So can you take me to Sunday night and what was going on then?
The fire, exactly, it started on Sunday. You might have seen these images, very dramatic images of a huge fire front, a blaze, which was massive. It was up to 25 meters high, according to the fire officials and the firemen who were there fighting the blaze. It started, we don't know yet. The authorities are investigating the cause of this fire. How did it start in a region east of Athens, northeast of Athens, where there's many pine trees. It's a forested area. There's also some smaller villages and towns like this one in Varnavas, where it actually began. The winds were so strong on that night that even the vehicles, the firefighting vehicles, they couldn't actually do, and the firefighters, they couldn't risk their lives. I was told they couldn't enter many parts because of this. Of course, the planes were not flying. They do not fly here in Greece overnight. They start early in the morning and they stop flying. They stop their operational activity with sundown. When the sun goes down, which is in about an hour from now, they will stop any flying, you know. So the firefighters were trying to fight these blazes, but it was also a matter of safety going and fighting these 25-meter long blazes. And it really expanded very quickly, up to 25 kilometers. It spread all throughout the region, reaching another part of Athens, which is actually the suburbs, only 20 kilometers from the center, from the Acropolis, where people live there, where they have their homes. It's not just the resort that they will go or their summer home. It's suburbs, Athens suburbs. There's even metro stations around. So the fire made like a sort of corridor, let's say, like an invisible line, if you like. And it started and it seared through massive area and reached the outskirts of Athens, the suburbs of Athens, where it did burn several houses. It did burn cars, businesses that were in the area, timber factories, anything that was on the way. Basically, it went up to flames, set ablaze in minutes. This morning I was back in the areas that were affected. The fire was out. The smoke was still smoldering. Firemen were there dousing the flames, you know, dropping water. Temperatures are very high these days, and this is what actually contributed to this fire. Dry conditions, very high temperatures, and strong winds.
Daphne, let me jump in for 1 second and take us over to today. We're showing now the images that you just described of like that scorched earth still smoking from the intensity of the fires, but also the intensity of this unbelievable heat. So when you went to these areas after the fire had ravaged through, I mean, what was it like? Aside from the firefighters, is anyone else there?
Yes, there were people coming back, people that were evacuated. I saw residents, Greek residents, they said we're coming back for the first time or for the second time. Some had tried to come before. They were not allowed by authorities last night to approach the area because it was still, the fire was still raging. They're coming back and they're saying we didn't know what we were going to see. Some people had their homes intact. Others, neighbors, they had their homes burnt. And they're saying, I don't understand. We were lucky our home wasn't burnt, but our neighbor's house was burnt. So this is basically the situation. They were back. They were frustrated. They were sad. They were angry. This is happening every year almost. They know that somewhere in Greece there's a fire, there's someone affected, and it was like this time it's our turn, or it was our turn. But it's just so close to the capital, to the city center in the suburbs. No one would. Well, they're saying that we wouldn't imagine, but on the other hand, we were kind of also in fear all these years. What if these pine trees here catch fire? What will happen? But the speed with which the fire actually reached them, that was really scary. One resident told me that he was there. He didn't sleep all night. His house was fine, and he showed me a house just 200 meters further up, and he said this house was burnt. I saw it. I saw the flames reach it and burn it in 5 minutes, because the wind was really, really very, very strong, and it reached the house and the pine trees around it that was surrounding this house, and it really set the house ablaze in 5 minutes, he said.
This is so frightening. And in the middle of the night, in that intense heat, with the speed of that fire coming at you, where did all the people who had to evacuate their homes go? Are they getting government support?
Yes, there were some stadiums, like the Olympic Stadium, where the ceremony of the Olympics 20 years ago, today actually, this was 20 years ago today, we had the Olympic Games in Athens. The ceremony was held in the Olympic Stadium, and this hut was opened yesterday and the day before yesterday to temporarily host and accommodate people. Some hotels, the municipalities have collaborated with some hotels to open up for free a few rooms. Around 500 people went to hotels. Others I spoke to told me they went to their relatives or their friends' houses somewhere else, in Athens, that it was safer for them. So they went there and stayed overnight, then came back in the morning, saw that there was still smoke, and it wasn't really healthy to stay there. It was, smoke everywhere. And they were, we can't stay here. We're going to go back and stay to a friend or a relative's house and come back tomorrow again. Maybe the air is clearer tomorrow.
Daphne, last hour we were speaking to another reporter in Athens. She works with Le Monde, and she mentioned that some of the people she's been speaking with are very angry at the government, that this climate crisis is not being addressed, and the heat that keeps increasing, and these wildfires that they know are coming every year. There's just not the preparation in advance, and there's no preventative measures being put in place. I wonder, what's your read of that part of the conversation?
There is a lot of conversation around this, and this is actually for years, not just now. It's well over 30 years now, where most people started, coming to Athens to live in Athens. Athens was smaller and it's spread out. We've built basically places where there are hills and forests. We've built inside these areas. We've had a financial crisis with most of the state services, like the fire service, being severely underfunded. So not many firemen. Now there is an effort to actually increase this. Many volunteers are helping a lot, and they're doing a lot. Volunteers, in addition to the firefighters, which many of them will be only working, for a few months across the year, not for the whole year, because it's an underfunded service. We have assistance from other European Union countries, which has been very critical. So Italy, Spain, Serbia, Turkey, they send firefighters, they send vehicles, they send assistance teams on the ground. The European Union mechanism was activated. But of course, now we have very dry conditions. I was talking to a meteorologist. He says, well, I don't know what the solution is. He said, we have all these very dry conditions. We have very little rain. This year we had the warmest winter on recent record. High temperatures, which, extended periods of heat. We've had the very early heat waves since June this year. Dry conditions, drought, dry conditions, and high temperatures and strong winds is a combination that is, very favorable for the fire. And this is often the case, and more we see it every year. The summer period is extended well over, it's 3 months, but we have repeated heat waves, and conditions are really favorable for these wildfires to start. Whatever, so it is the climate also. I mean, combined with the underfunded services, some preparedness, preparedness ahead of time, which is not managed properly, like forest management. All these factors play into how these fires behave.
Daphne, let me jump in for 1 second because we have run out of time, but I'm going to ask that let's please leave this conversation with a reality check, because for so many of us, Athens represents so much more than a capital city. It is such a global symbol of something so big, of our collective narrative of humanity. And I just wonder, how serious is the threat at this point? Are they going to be able to keep the fire outside of downtown Athens, away from the Acropolis, or is there a real threat there?
Well, this is an interesting but difficult question at the same time. All the efforts are primarily put to the evacuation of residents to prevent and save any lives, because we've had a huge and deadly wildfire in 2018, where very close again to Athens and the outskirts of Athens in a resort in Mati, 104 people died. So this has been a tragic incident for Greece, and it's in our collective memory altogether. So something that no one wants to see repeating again. And evacuation is number one in the government's mind, at least now. So it's not just it's not just the city of Athens. It's the whole of Greece that we must think of, because we're seeing forest fires every year in different regions of Athens, and these are valuable forests. And if this keeps going on, what will happen? With high temperatures going up, dry conditions prevailing, and fire and wildfires is just going to make everything uninhabitable in a few years.
God, let us hope it doesn't get to that. Daphne Tolis in Athens, very good to speak to you. Thank you so much for all of your insights.
Thank you for having me.